it's such an insulting thing to blame him for, frame him for. Like, what is this? What is this? Crumbs. It's like, what are you trying to say, Gollum? Come on, man. That's low.
That's right, Chuck.
Hello there.
Assemble. Just chuck a fire on
99ers. We are back for episode 21. We got the whole crew here, and we played musical chairs today. Switching it up.
Yeah.
Switchy style.
Switchers.
McSwitcherton.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, so today we kind of want to do some Lord of the Rings dialogue.
Loader.
Get down into the mines of Moria.
Oh my God.
I can't.
Yeah, you can't believe our eyes. But that's mostly because our young friend Dave has recently watched all of the extended editions. Is that correct?
Yeah. So 3 movies took me 2.5 weeks to get through, but
Wow.
we did it.
And that's watching them nonstop.
No. I kept falling asleep.
What?
During Two Towers.
The heck?
What?
How can you say that?
Blasphemy.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So you said you were how old? You were like 3 months old when those movies first came out, right?
I don't know when those movies came out, but
Because you told me you'd never actually seen the extended edition, or had it been so long that you couldn't actually remember it?
I think I had seen the original movies, and I don't remember anything about them.
Dang, you don't remember?
Nope.
Dang, just like 9/11. Where were you? When it
Fourth
happened?
grade.
4th grade.
Miss Waldecker's class.
Dang.
R.I.P.
In peace.
In peace, yeah. I would say though, it's important for me and Austin because those movies came out at like such a pivotal time for us. I mean, like 9, 10, 11, etc. So it's like,
Yep.
those were like just so permanently implanted in my head. Seeing the movies and then watching the extended editions on repeat over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I would say like, dude, I can't be me without Lord of the Rings.
Word, dude.
But Dave, you're a late bloomer. What does that mean?
What does a late bloomer mean?
What's the definition?
Somebody who hasn't gone on an adventure yet
Speaking
until
of
just now.
going on an adventure, let's start.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about Lord of the Rings for a minute, Dave. While
So-
you cough.
I'm not gonna lie. I
prefer
wanted-
you never do that, actually.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
Full honesty time. Going into those movies, I know there's a lot of hype around. Like all my friends think that they're great. You guys think they're great.
Uh-oh.
So going into it with a mindset of like, okay, I know these movies are great,
Yeah.
but after watching them myself, I can honestly say those movies are great.
I was sweating there for a second.
No, it was very entertaining.
Yeah,
It
they're
was
pretty
great.
good. I mean, they still... I mean, it's one thing to say they hold up. I mean, it's not like it's been like 50 years.
Right.
It's only been like less than 20.
Yeah.
So they definitely are extremely well made, but this was the first time you saw the extended editions, right?
Right.
And those are over 3 hours each.
Yeah, I know the last one's 4.5 hours,
Dang.
which is a lot.
That
That's
is a lot.
just long enough to wrap your Christmas presents with it on in the background.
Yeah.
Is that, you know that from personal experience?
Yeah, I would just do that every day all year. Just practice
Dang.
wrapping Christmas presents.
So you're ready come the 24th.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. You spend all your wrapping presents, and I didn't
Say
get
it.
a single one.
Yeah. Well, because I spent so much money on wrapping paper, I didn't have any left for Christmas presents.
That makes sense.
Sorry. So what are your initial reactions to the extended edition for each movie? What are some of the things that stuck out?
So I can't honestly tell you what the difference is.
Yeah, because you just don't really remember the original, like
Right.
the theatricals.
Sure.
Okay.
But of the 3 movies, I would say Return of the King is by far one of the best movies.
Yeah, Return of the King might objectively be the greatest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched an extremely goofy movie.
True.
I've seen Rugrats in Paris.
Chucky? Why are you running?
I watched.
Wonder Woman 2.
I actually never saw Wonder Woman 2.
Me neither.
Yeah,
Speaking of which, Patty Jenkins directed that. Patty Jenkins was slated to direct the newest Rogue Squadron movie.
And what went wrong, do you think?
I don't know, but they pulled it from their release schedule.
Maybe because they saw Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, no.
It's like what happened to Colin Trevorrow.
And that is somebody.
He was originally going to direct episode 9.
Oh. What has he done in the past?
He directed Jurassic World,
Oh, okay.
which made like $1 billion. And so Disney was like,
That guy can make us money.
and they thought that would be a wise decision. And then he made a movie called Book of Henry, which is maybe the worst thing that's ever happened to the world.
Oh, no.
And so after that, I think somebody said, Kathleen Kennedy, come here for a second. I need you to kill this guy.
And no one's seen him since.
And no one's seen him since.
Dang.
I need him to disappear.
They disappeared him.
So it's a weird story. I mean, we've talked about this before, but it's like a director makes the biggest difference ever. Mm-hmm. And maybe what's kind of weird about Marvel is I don't feel like they put as much in the hands of the director. Mm-hmm. But like that's why Lord of the Rings is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because like Peter Jackson almost died for that movie. Like just gave his life.
Yeah.
All of his energy. So Dave, what do you think is something that do you know much about Peter Jackson? Do you like have an idea of what his history, what he used to do and stuff?
I don't have his history. I know he wrote the books.
No.
Nope.
All right.
No. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Tolkien for a second.
No, I'm
sorry.
talking about the big
Director of the
big round New
movies.
Zealand guy who directed Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
He's from New Zealand? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's his motherland.
That's super. That's super important that it was made in New Zealand. That's the only reason it was made in New Zealand.
Hang on, let me hop in here because I just looked like an idiot not knowing him. But yeah, Austin. He's from New Zealand.
I didn't know he was from New Zealand. I just thought New Zealand was like the place. That's just where
It
they
is,
wanted to
and
do it.
that's the only reason he knows that.
They have the accent.
Fair enough. Peter Jackson.
Yeah. Weta Digital.
The scenery in those movies is nuts.
Yeah.
Like amazing.
Didn't they do a lot of helicopter shots?
Oh, for sure. You can go to New Zealand and they still have like, you can like do tours around New Zealand of like iconic areas from the movies. I mean, they literally still have the Hobbiton set. Mm-hmm. It's like a tourist attraction now, but you can literally go to Mount Doom, or at least a volcano that served as a lot of the pickup shots for it. There's mountain ranges and all sorts of stuff. I mean, like Edoras, for example, the city of Edoras, located in the middle, like this weird small hill in the middle of a mountain range in an open field. It's like a miracle that actually existed on Earth. When Tolkien wrote it in a book, having no idea that it actually existed in New Zealand.
Destiny.
Yeah, Destiny, exactly. So they're beautiful movies.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were in awe while watching these films.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe some tears came to your eyes.
No.
Oh.
Dang.
No, they didn't.
Do you feel like your heart grew 3 sizes that day?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, good.
That's a serious medical condition. You should get that looked at.
Yeah, my sister's a doctor. She'll take care of you.
An enlarged heart. You do not want to run around with that.
Or you want to run more.
Nope. You'll die.
Oh, okay. I guess you would know.
After I saw The Grinch.
Oh, shoot.
I knew you guys were
He didn't die, though, in that movie. He got
No,
healthier.
I died because I watched it and my heart grew.
Oh, yeah, of course. You don't
He's a
want-
cartoon
yeah.
character, Sean. I'm a real life person.
Well, he was Jim Carrey in the suit.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Well, Jim Carrey's career was never the same. Boom.
got better. Speaking of better, let's talk about what makes the extended
He
edition
wasn't
better.
Sonics. One and two.
What is the difference? Like, what does extended
It's a lot
version
of
add?
footage. So, to be honest,
It is 30, 40 something minutes extra film.
I had seen the original movies because we had the DVDs of just the regular version. I had seen them 15 to 20 times. I knew so much dialogue, it was ridiculous. And then I remember going to a friend of ours, shout out to the Lewises. They had a giant projector screen in their basement, and they said, dude, you haven't seen the extended edition? And I had heard whispers of an extended edition, but I never knew the full power.
The legend of the extended
It's like
editions.
the Nazgul.
We started off with Fellowship of the Ring, and it was like right away I was like, I've never seen this scene.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
That's new. I've never heard him say that. And a lot of it is just like 20 seconds here, 10 seconds there. But then there's like a 4-minute chunk you've never seen. And then 20 seconds, 10, 5 seconds, 3-minute chunk. And it's just like, it completely blew my brain out of my skull.
And the best part is how committed they were to doing the extended editions like that.
Right.
Because a lot of DVDs will just like, oh, it's a little feature in the menu. Watch some deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's obvious why they were deleted. They don't have like good rhythm, momentum. They don't have finished visual effects, like things like that. And they're just like not worth watching.
Yeah.
But for the extended edition, it's like they went out of their way to make a 4-hour movie, and then they got away with making a 3-hour theatrical cut. And what I love is after the original movies came out, they would like get to work on perfecting the extended edition before it came out on home video and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like that was a treasure trove of a DVD. I mean, there was like, it's like per movie, it's like 9 hours of behind the scenes documentary.
Yeah. David, what were some of your favorite parts? Starting with Fellowship. In Fellowship.
Oh, man. So, I would say Gandalf and the Balrog.
Freaking yes.
I thought that was pretty sweet. I like what he symbolizes, too.
What audio clip goes with that, you think?
You know what? I think that right now in this moment that I am
I was hoping you'd actually literally press anything and see what happened.
Oh, you don't have it. That's why.
Then I shall die as one of them.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I was looking for You Shall Not Pass. We don't have that.
Not yet.
Or just the Balrog screaming. Next week.
There you go. You're set. Just pull that
Just
out.
record that, yeah.
So you like the Gandalf and the Balrog scene?
Yeah, I like what it symbolizes.
Okay.
Because us three, we're Christians.
Dang.
So it's really cool how Gandalf is kind of a symbol of like Jesus.
Dang.
And how he was Gandalf the Grey. And how he had to conquer.
He gave
death,
his life
hell,
so that
and
they
the
could go.
grave.
He gave his life so that they could get away.
Yeah.
There
Gave his
you go.
life. Yep.
But then reborn.
And then he came back
Dang. Resurrection from the dead.
as Gandalf the White.
Dang. It's so good.
Purified.
The way they open up, this is skipping to Two Towers, but the way they open up that movie with showing you what Gandalf did, frickin' fire. He catches the sword as he's going down. Absolute gasoline.
You ever listen to the commentaries on those DVDs? Like,
I don't think so.
During the movies? Oh my gosh, they're the best. First of all, no movie to my knowledge has ever done this. They have 4 commentaries per movie.
Dang.
It's like the cast, the writers and director, like the production crew, and then like the design crew.
Shoot.
And it's like listening to all of their reactions to that scene in specific is just like, yeah, this is the best opening to a movie of all time, hands down.
It really is.
Because it's very like somebody said, it's like a James Bond film. Like you start off with this extreme action sequence, so you're like heart's racing, and then the movie starts.
I actually have this one employee that I just jokingly saying like, you should watch The Lord of the Rings, and she had never seen it. And it just became this running joke where like, how was your weekend, guys? Oh, my weekend was good. Kelly, did you watch The Lord of the Rings? And for probably 13 months straight, I would ask her like every Tuesday, how was your weekend? Did you watch The Lord of the Rings?
There you go.
She got COVID.
Oh no.
I sent her a care package. In it was my DVD set of Lord of the Rings.
Aw.
She finally watched it. She watched Fellowship and she's like, yeah, it's pretty good. I was like, just wait until the opening of Two Towers. It is the best thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
She watched all of them. She loved them.
Yeah.
But who doesn't?
I'm wondering what's something specific that was a very extended edition-y in that first movie, Fellowship of the Ring.
Was the very beginning, like with Isildur, was
The
that
prologue?
all?
No, that was not. Except there is an extension to that. That's right, I remember. In the original movie, in the theatrical edition, him and his when Isildur takes the ring for himself, him and his men are like kind of marching through the forest on some horses, and they get shot and killed they get ambushed by orcs,
Right.
and Isildur jumps into the water and the ring falls into the water, and he gets hit with arrows from behind and dies. In the theatrical cut, they actually do something really interesting. What they do is, maybe obviously to make the scene shorter, but maybe to make it less violent, they actually just kind of like have like blurry, super low frame rate shots of them getting ambushed in the woods, and then it just kind of like fades out, and then it fades up, and Isildur's just like floating down the river with arrows in his back.
Right.
Okay.
And you don't really understand what happened to the ring. You just kind of see a shot of it like settling into the mud.
They imply the violence rather than show it. Because really, for me, I know the theatrical version much better.
Yep.
But I do remember more towards the end when they meet Galadriel. That sequence with Galadriel is much more strung out.
Yeah, the gifts, the giving of the gifts.
The giving of the gifts. She also has a pretty lengthy scene with Gandalf, right? Or no?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't make it. He doesn't make it to that.
Isn't there a Gandalf scene, or am I wrong?
There's a extended series of scenes between them and the Hobbit.
Okay, maybe that. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'm confusing. I'm sorry.
But I think
the giving of the gifts for sure is much more lengthy.
Yeah.
In the extended version.
Actually, that has like one of the sweetest moments of all time in the Fellowship of the Ring. You'll probably remember this, Dave. It's when they kind of do the whole giving of the gifts in montage as they're going down the river.
Yeah.
And I love that I can remember this because I probably haven't watched this in like 8 years. But
it's something about these movies that like I haven't seen them in a long time. You fire them up and I know them word for word.
Because it's not written on your mind, it's written on your heart.
Oh my gosh.
So they have this scene where
too big.
where Gimli is describing what gift he got from Galadriel, and it's kind of like cut out of the film, theatrical cut, but in the extended edition they leave it in that he sees Galadriel. He's a dwarf, who doesn't care for elves, but he sees Galadriel and he's like immediately smitten.
Yeah.
Like he's like in awe. She's the most beautiful person he's ever seen. He can't even he's almost speechless. And so when she talks about giving him a gift, she kind of says, what could I give a dwarf or whatever? And he all like shyly says something about,
I know what it is.
Actually, he says to Legolas, I asked for one hair from her golden head.
Yeah.
And she gave me 3.
She gave me 3.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
And then there's something about the Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis.
There's something about Elvis's hair. The elvish hair. There was some story to that.
Yeah, I don't remember very well, but there's a story apparently in either the appendices or the Silmarillion, something about an elf queen, like somebody basically throwing out the exact same proposal to an elf queen or something like that. Like asking for just one hair from their head and they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But then like the humility of this dwarf asking, and she did it, which is like just the cutest thing ever. Maybe one day I'll get a tattoo of that, 3 hairs. But you'll never know because it's already, I might have already gotten it. You'd never know.
Like 3 tiny hairs that look like your hair or 3 like long hairs?
Well, yeah.
They're one and the same.
One and the same, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I actually got the tattoos of the hairs on my head, but it's really hard to see.
Sure.
Yeah, especially because they're blonde.
Nice.
And because I got them tattooed on the inside.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. How do they go about that?
Speaking of tattoos on the inside, talk about the 2 towers.
Well,
Tattoo towers,
I will say
That was a great transition.
Probably my favorite moment in Fellowship is Boromir's death.
Heck yeah.
I think that was my favorite.
Yeah, they killed him.
That whole sequence
super dead.
is so good.
I like how like the ring is like the ultimate test to someone's
Of your character.
someone's character.
Right.
That's true. Dude, I'm getting chills. I'm like, and especially because Rings of Power is out now, and
Yeah.
I'm like I'm already starting to pick up on like some of the things not weird, but things they do in the show that very much feel like love letters to that kind of style of storytelling and filmmaking.
Yeah.
Just like the super pretentious slow-mo. Like when somebody dies, it's like the most serious moment in the world ever.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if I saw Fellowship of the Ring in theaters. I don't think I did, but I did see Two Towers and Return of the King in theaters. But I remember that first time seeing that Boromir sacrificial scene.
Yep.
Man, it gets you. As somebody who spent a lot of time in the woods as a kid, I loved Legolas because he was a baller with the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And we would go hunting with bows and arrow and stuff. And my favorite Legolas moment is in the Mines of Moria when they're crossing that bridge and it's like breaking apart and shifting.
Yeah.
some freaking orc sniper comes out and he's like all the way on the other end of the mines, and Legolas just 800 yards, meow, right to his forehead.
Yeah,
that
I
is
love
like
that scene.
the best moment in that movie for Legolas, at least.
And what's great about that is we forgot to touch on this, but Peter Jackson before Lord of the Rings was not viewed as a dramatic filmmaker like that. He did make a kind of serious movie called Heavenly Creatures, which I've never actually gotten to see, but he was a gross out horror monster movie guy. Like those like classic black comedies where characters explode into green goo, and you know, he had a whole thing called Meet the Feebles, which was like this super perverted, raunchy, violent form of the Muppets. Like that's what he was known for, like gross out horror.
Interesting.
And so then you give him the Lord of the Rings, and it's like the softest part of his heart. It's like this precious thing to him.
Yeah.
And he like, all of that other stuff is not important. He just like gives everything into taking that as seriously as possible. But every once in a while, some of those like gross out, like weirdly violent things pop up in the movies. Like this ridiculous shot of like POV of the arrow going straight through that orc's head from across the chasm.
Or when Aragorn kills the Uruk-hai that's about to destroy Boromir.
Yeah.
Cuts off his arm, then cuts off his head.
And just like,
I was pretty young when I
and then
first
just
saw
like,
that. Yeah.
a lot of
And
that.
even like the sound effect that they use, just like, is just intense. What were your favorite parts of that movie specifically?
Fellowship of the Ring. You know, it's probably all the things that have to do with like serious music. Like there's always like, I think a lot of movies today should take themselves more seriously, because I think people underestimate how attached you can get to moments if the movie really is like sincere about it.
Yeah.
So like when Gandalf dies, movies have deaths of major characters all the time. I mean, we grew up on Star Wars. Star Wars has Gandalf's death with Obi-Wan.
Right.
But like Lord of the Rings goes so hard on it. Like they're like running out, like slow motion, like everybody just sitting down and like weeping, and then the music kicks in, and it's like, oh my gosh.
That like 15-minute stretch of that movie when they're hunkered down
It's
in
heavy.
that room, and then who is it? Is it Pippin that knocks over the skeleton?
Full of the toque, yeah.
And you hear the drum, boom, boom, boom,
Boom, boom, boom, boom.
and when they run out of there, and you can see the hordes coming down the catacombs.
Super well shot, because it's like it's all in the dark, so you can't even really see them. It's just like these tiny like glints, glints and shadows of armor. And it's like
so good.
Oh my gosh.
And the Balrog shows up. All right, we can move on to Two Towers.
Two Towers, yeah. Dos Towers, which is Spanish for two towers.
We can't move on. There's one other moment I liked.
I mean, we could talk about Lord of the Rings probably until we die.
I can't wait.
The scene where Frodo wakes up and sees that they are cooking food.
Yeah.
Puts their
Put it out, you fools! Put it out!
Yeah.
That's
puts the
right.
fire out.
Yeah.
Crispy bacon.
And then all the ring raids
Tomatoes and nice crispy bacon. We made some for you, Mr. Frodo.
Put it out, you fools! So classic. That is a great scene.
Specifically when Aragorn takes the torch, throws it through his face.
Yes.
I can smell you.
Do it. That's why he's the GOAT!
I like that. That was cool.
Throws his arms around.
You know what's so great about that is it's old school filmmaking. Clearly, it's just like a puppet thing on top of the guy's head with a torch in it. And you know that watching it, but you still love it.
Yeah. So good.
If they'd have done that in CG nowadays, it wouldn't have worked.
Aragorn is so great.
Actually, I think I once saw a thing on the internet that was like, what fictional male in a movie would you feel the safest with or something? And it's like, universally, is like Aragorn.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, he will protect me till his last breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. We should be Aragorn when we grow up.
Dude. We were going to do a very long time ago. We were going to all dress up. There was a big crew of us. We were all going to dress up for Lord of the Rings as Lord of the Rings characters for Halloween. But then it like never happened. Meanwhile, I bought
I remember this,
the fabric to make a cloak. I bought Aragorn's fake sword. I bought the elvish pin. I was ready to go. But it never happened.
Because it's it's too important. You don't want to just turn it into an April Fool's gag
You're right.
or whatever you said.
It's Halloween. Halloween. It's not a one-day event.
Hey guys,
It's a
for April
lifestyle.
Fools,
You want to dress up as Aragorn for April Fools?
that's funny.
All right, what else, Dave?
I mean, that's it for Fellowship. I think Two Towers, what did it for me was honestly just Gollum.
Yeah.
Just the Smeagol Gollum back to back. All his conversations I loved. And I love repeating it to Emily because she's scared of it. So my
That's
favorite
why.
saying,
That's why you repeated that Gollum thing. That last
I'll
episode.
do it again. So my favorite line is when he's like trying to get Frodo to believe him that like Sam is the bad guy, and he always says like stupid fat hobbits, whatever it is. But when he says stupid fat hobbits, I think it's the funniest thing in the world.
It's great.
And then Frodo's like, "Well, hold on, that's a pretty good argument.
Right.
you are stupid and
Is
fat."
potatoes in number two? or three?
Potatoes.
Boil them, mash them,
Stick them in a stew. Yeah, of course.
Classic.
Classic.
Sean, are you going to be the one to tell David, or am I going to be the one to tell David about Aragorn and when they believe in their hearts that Merry and Pippin are dead?
Oh yeah. Back in 2003, you were cool if you knew this fact.
Yeah. Still are.
You wouldn't know it unless you watched the extended edition DVD. But
That's
now,
right.
but now everybody knows it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You tell them.
So, when they come up on the heap of orc bodies that have been burned by the Riders of Rohan,
I remember.
he says, like, we left no survivors. They're like, oh, there were halflings. They'd be but children.
There's two hobbits. There's just like two hobbits.
He's like, we left none alive. And then they go to the heaping, burning bodies. And Aragorn, in his rage, he kicks a helmet and he screams out in agony because he's so distraught that they're dead. Well, in real life, Viggo, what's his? How do you say
Viggo
his name?
Mortensen.
I was gonna say that, but it sounded wrong in my mind. Viggo Mortensen breaks his toe
Yeah.
when he kicks the helmet, and the scream of agony was a real scream of pain.
Yeah.
And that's the best LOTR fact
I actually knew that.
ever.
And I don't even know LOTR.
I've seen so many reels where it's like watching Two Towers with my buddy for the first time, and it's like a guy like sweating profusely,
Yeah, just like I can't wait to tell him.
and then he pauses it. So, did you
Just
know?
so you know. Well, there you go.
Yeah, the pursuit of Merry and Pippin in that movie is great.
Well, it's great because there's all these extended sequences of them just running across mountains. Again, who thinks of putting that in a movie? Like a 2-minute montage of these guys just sprinting across landscapes.
running.
Only because you're in New Zealand and you want to like glorify the environment.
Right.
That's like very Tolkien. But what's funny is the idea of like, okay, they're running across these mountains, and Peter Jackson said, for whatever reason, he said he was excited to film this stuff. I don't know why, but like he's just got a thing about it. But then apparently, like when they were doing it, they took a whole day to do it, and all of their guys were like beaten up and wounded. So Aragorn broke his toe. Viggo broke his toe. Orlando Bloom, who plays Legolas, broke his ribs.
Oh my god!
And then Brett Beatty, the guy who played the scale double for Gimli, dislocated his knee like prior. So like, it's just these poor miserable guys running across mountains for hours and hours while a helicopter chases them.
Yeah,
Wow.
And they'd have to like just stuff the walkie-talkie in a bush or something.
there's so many good lines in that one.
Run, don't fall.
Legolas is ahead of them. The sky is red. Blood was spilled this night.
I think about that. Do you think about that literally every morning that there's a red sky now?
Yes,
I think
every
about that
night.
every single time there's a red sky in the
Every
morning.
single time I say it, nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's
I do
extremely-
now.
Now you do. So what else, David?
I'm gonna be honest. This was the movie that took me the longest to get through.
Two Towers?
Yeah, I think it's like 3.5 hours, but it took me, I think 5 or 6 sessions
Interesting.
because I kept falling asleep.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be watching these movies at 3 in the
But-
morning, Dave.
But
Come on.
when Helm's Deep started coming, like
Oh,
that
yeah.
war, that I was glued.
That's
I
half.
didn't-
That's half the movie.
Yeah, no, the first half of the movie I couldn't get through.
Well, actually, I guess in the extended edition, it's not.
But yeah, Helm's Deep was definitely the highlight.
Yeah, Helm's Deep. I don't think a battle has been done as well as Helm's Deep.
No.
Ever.
I mean, Return of the King is the best movie, but the Helm's Deep scene is my favorite scene in all the movies.
Because like the last half of that movie is really all just a build up to the battle.
Yeah.
And like do everything you can to communicate they're all going to die. Like they're locked away. They don't believe Aragorn and Gandalf when they say they can't defeat this army.
Right.
The king is like not listening. Like, no, we'll just push everybody into the mountain. We'll be fine. We'll hide there. And no, 10,000 strong. It's bad news.
It is.
And then they do it.
They used real modeling for that, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a series of things they did. They had obviously a giant model. Mm-hmm. You know, when you think of a model, you think of something the size of like this table, maybe. They had something the size of like a gym.
Yeah.
And then they had a scale model that they would film with. No, I should say like, what do you call it? A forced perspective model. So like when you would be filming in the quarry they were filming in, they had the keep, like the giant castle in the background. But instead of literally being, 100 feet wide or whatever, it was like 20 feet wide.
Okay.
And so they use that as forced perspective because if you place the camera in such a way, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference if it's in the background. So they had all sorts of tricks. And they built a real wall for them to run around in and stuff, and Legolas to slide his shield down.
That was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Just before that, though, when he breaks the wall.
Yeah,
the Berserker Urukai.
Yeah.
Dude, that scene is so good.
All the music gets sucked out right before he jumps into it.
He jumps in like a psycho.
Yeah, that scene, I remember when Aragorn says, Legolas, bring him down.
Bring him down, bring him down.
And then watching him just take the arrows and the way he just jumps in. Dude, I looked at Emily and I was like,
that's who you want to be when you grow up.
Awesome. This movie is awesome.
It's so good.
It's very good.
And especially like Legolas doesn't miss. He don't miss.
Doesn't miss and it's not enough.
And he didn't miss, but he didn't hit him in the head.
It's Berserker.
Yeah. The thing is though, like, if he takes him out, one of the 700 guys that's lined up is just gonna pick it up and take it.
Well, yeah. They're gonna blow that wall up.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
But the moment is still great.
That's also the movie that ends, again, it's so heavy, that ending where Sam and Frodo are fighting each other because Frodo's just like lost it, and then they kind of like tumble down the stairs and Frodo pulls his blade on Sam's neck and it's me. It's your Sam. Don't you know you're Sam? Yeah, great.
You don't mean that.
You don't mean that. They and then he has this like dramatic speech about like how could the world go back to the way it was after so much bad has happened. It's so good.
It is good.
Montage of them winning the battle against the Uruk-hai. Helm's Deep. Day of victory.
Gandalf showing up and saving the day.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful films.
Word.
Not just cool, but babes.
Why am I crying? It's fine. So Return of the King.
Return of the King, yeah.
Return of the King, my favorite moment. I thought Saruman's death was wild.
Yeah, that's something that is very different in the theatrical version. Very different.
How does he die in the...
You don't know he dies.
They don't show it.
He's just at the top of the tower.
They don't even show him.
No.
They in the theatrical edition, the hero, the party shows up to the flooded what is it?
Isengard?
Isengard, yeah, shows up to flooded Isengard, and somebody references Saruman up in the tower, and it kind of just cuts to Gandalf, who says, "Oh, he'll live there the rest of his days in shame," or something like that.
Right.
And then cut to Pippin finding the Palantir in the water. And it's funny because the only reason they had to keep the scene was because they needed the Palantir.
Right.
They couldn't get around that.
That was crucial.
And then the extended edition, they they give the whole scene.
Yeah. I didn't even know he died.
Yeah.
In the theatrical version, you don't know. And then you see his death. It's like, oh my God.
Which is really interesting because in the books, that's not what happens at all either.
Oh, really?
In the books, I don't know. I don't think he gets away, but I do think they basically leave him stuck in Isengard, but he eventually escapes. And the very, very end of the story isn't they win the battle at the end of Return of the King and then everybody goes home. Instead, they go home, but Saruman has gotten a bunch of their enemies together and is attacking the Shire.
Shoot.
And so it's kind of like a weirdly... It's like a secondary battle after all of it.
Gotcha.
And I don't really know... I don't know why it's like that. I think it's only like that because Tolkien didn't want to have like... He has a happy ending, but he didn't want it to be like a simple happy ending. There's like scars and consequences for everything.
Ramifications for what happened.
But I believe the writers of the Lord of the Rings trilogy had pretty much decided from the get-go they were not going to end like that.
Gotcha.
It's just too complicated of an ending to do.
Right.
So you just don't do that.
Right.
But yeah, Return of the King is...
What's your favorite scene, Sean?
Out of control good. You know, there's what I think is the best scene in the movie. It might not be my favorite scene, but the best scene in the movie is so good that it's become a meme, which is like the charge of the Rohirrim.
Ah, yeah.
Like here's King Theoden just giving this ridiculous dramatic speech
Right.
to all of these soldiers before they ride to their deaths.
Do you remember
their deaths.
The implications of that with all the actors and how Peter Jackson kind of handpicked different extras?
Weren't they all soldiers, or they were?
They were all people who had read the books.
Okay.
He only wanted extras who read the books and knew the importance of that sequence and knew that like what this is in terms of the grand story, and you can see it on their faces.
What I love about that scene is from a production assistant perspective. It's like, okay, I have hundreds of people in costume along with hundreds of horses, all of which the vast majority of those horses are owned by the people riding them.
Yeah.
Because they just sent out a casting call like, hey, if you own a horse, come.
Right.
Because we're not gonna get all these horses. You got to ride your own horse. So apparently they even had like women dressed up because, you know, you don't have hundreds of men.
You just need bodies.
You just need bodies. So what's funny to me is one of the production assistants was talking about the phenomenon of like, okay, it's a movie, but you really had hundreds of people charging like a cavalry.
Right.
And they were talking about having a panic attack because if one person fell,
yeah, they're dead.
They're dead. Like it's a stampede. Like somebody's gonna die today. And then they needed a place they needed a big giant open field to film all this stuff in. And my understanding is this giant field they filmed the Charge of the Rohirrim was the same place they filmed the charge of all the heroes at the end of Return of the King when they kind of like faced off against the Black Gate. It used to be a former New Zealand Army testing field.
Oh, wow.
So there's like all this ordnance and shrapnel and everything.
It's all coming together.
So it was like, okay, before you all run out there, this is a landmine. This is, pieces of an exploded grenade. You know, don't touch this. If you see this, let us know. Like, they had like guys from the army show up and say, like, yeah, be careful.
So wild.
And they had to have people like, if there was like a gopher hole or something, they had to like have people go across the whole field and fill them in because if a horse put his foot in it,
break their leg and be done. Yeah.
Pretty intense stuff you don't think about when you're watching a movie.
Right.
But
they pulled out all the stuff.
They did the stuff. They really did.
I think one of my favorite scenes in that movie is the fall of Osgiliath, and when the orcs just come in and chase out Faramir and his crew, and then Gandalf saves their butts when the Nazgul shows up.
I was gonna say one of my favorites is when Faramir goes back and Pippin is singing to it.
Oh man,
dude.
And there are many paths to tread.
And his dad bites the tomato.
Yum.
Yeah.
As they all die.
Gross. There's something about all that sequence that's different in the extended edition. I can't remember what it is though.
I don't remember.
Man. I'm wondering if the scene where the fall of Osgiliath is longer in the extended edition or something.
I think so.
Or it's more violent.
I think so.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But man, you know what's funny about those movies? The older I get, the more I get them.
Sure.
Like the more I understand what it would be like to be a soldier and like these orcs show up on boats in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
and just take over the city, and you think you can fight them off, and then by the time the sun comes up, you're like, we have to get out of here.
Right.
There's guys who get left behind, and then they're running across Pelennor fields on their horses, and the dragons that
Dude, just picking people off, grabbing horses.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
it's messed up.
It is. Can you imagine?
As a kid, you're like, yeah, that's great. As an adult, you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God, that guy had a family. He's dead.
Not anymore.
Dang.
He's got a new family. His dead brothers. So, yeah, talk about a lot of dead people.
I love
Speaking of dead people.
Yeah,
throughout the
zombie army.
throughout the whole like 3 movies, like just the speeches, the hype up for the war.
Yeah.
They do it like it's not the same speech every time. It's
Right.
different, and he finds a way to do it multiple times and make it great every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Some of the best.
Yeah, you have like Aragorn's pitch to the army of the dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold your, I challenge you basically to keep your oath and fight for us.
What say you?
What say you?
What say you?
What say you?
Yeah, and then you got Gandalf telling the boys when they're like banging down the doors of the keep.
No matter what comes through that gate, you will stand your ground. Oh, great heaven!
Whatever comes through there, like
Yeah.
stand
Yeah.
fast and
Yep.
show courage. And then it's just a bunch of trolls.
Yeah,
and
then
then
the
everybody's
troll
like,
breaks
never mind.
And even
No,
Gandalf's
never mind. Run! Oh my God. He just killed a guy. Wait, people are going to die? I don't want that.
Right, Chuck.
Exactly. And then you, of course, got King Theoden giving what is arguably the greatest king's speech in a movie ever.
For sure.
Like, ride to your death.
Yeah.
Die! Death! Like, he gets everybody cheering for their deaths. That's
Right.
how amazing that is.
So good.
Even the women. Death! Great. And then like how do you finish that? How do you top that with at the very final battle where Aragorn and his men, the remaining men left to fight, face off against the overwhelming forces of Mordor?
Right.
Like, it's like, what speech does he give? He just turns around and just says,
For Frodo.
Frodo.
Heck yeah.
And then they just go.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love how
That's it. That's all you
he
need.
says that. He turns and goes, and then Merry and Pippin take off.
The first one.
Yeah,
I love
they
that.
just take off.
First ones across the field are the hobbits.
Yeah.
So the in the extended edition, the mouth of Sauron, the freaky guy that comes out to Aragorn.
Yeah.
That's
that is
right.
not in the
Right.
theatrical.
I
It's
knew
not in the
that.
theatrical
I remember that.
Because that blew my mind. I was
Yeah.
like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
He just cuts his head off, right?
Yeah.
He does.
Freaking got him. Aragorn's such a boss.
You want to know why I was confused about that? Because we played the Lord of the Rings Return of the King video game
Right.
growing up. And that was, he wasn't a boss. Well, no, he was. That's right. The last mission, he's like a mini boss you fight,
Sure.
and you're playing against this guy, and you're like,
Who is this
who's
guy?
he? Like, what's going on? Like, this wasn't in the movie.
Okay, video game developers, let's just throw this character
Just
in.
lie to me. So,
We were the chumps who didn't know.
yep.
Legolas taking down the Oliphant. That's classic.
Yeah.
3 arrows.
They had to top
to the
they had to top the shield riding down the stair thing.
Yeah. What I liked about
And taking out the troll
Yep.
in
The
Moria.
first movie. Yeah.
Yep.
what I liked about this was Legolas and Gimli are like counting their kills.
Yeah.
And they do that in Avengers. In
Right.
Avengers, it's so cheesy and annoying.
We talked about this before.
Yeah. But it really was like awesome that Legolas and Gimli are like going at it.
Because
you
it's
know?
just that dwarf versus elf rivalry.
Yeah.
Even though they're best bros at this point, they still have that rivalry.
And I actually really liked
Loved it.
Eowyn or Eowyn.
Eowyn.
Yeah.
She has like a 5-minute, like just 5 minutes of the movie, and she just bosses the heck up. She has like 4 kills.
Yeah.
Of like an elephant, and then a.
I don't think that was in the theatrical version.
A lot of that fight,
Yeah.
a lot of
Which-
Pelennor Fields is added in the extended edition
Right.
because, and it's a lot of really cool action stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, specifically, it's the moment when Eowyn gets knocked down, and there is what's his name? What's his name? Gothmog or something. It's the name of the the deformed, fleshy-faced orc who leads the army.
Yeah.
Fear, the city is rank with it. That guy.
Dude, that was so good.
That was really good.
That guy, it's actually the same actor who played both the Witch King and played that Lurtz, the main guy
from the Hobbit.
Uruk-hai who killed Fellowship, killed Boromir.
Oh, yes.
So that's done actor.
And I think he is the in the Hobbit. It's not the I don't know the Hobbit as well. Who's the main antagonist?
I can't remember.
The one orc.
Yeah, the one white orc.
It's his second in command guy.
Yeah, because originally he was going to play the villain, and they kind of changed it up and made the villain the CG guy. But
it's like Legolas's arch nemesis in that movie.
Bolg. I remember Bolg. I don't remember the other guy.
Oh, yeah.
But in the movie, the theatrical cut, I don't think you even see how he dies. But in the extended edition, Éowyn has been knocked down, and
you're right.
And she's apparently going to get killed by this guy. And then here comes Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli.
Yeah.
And they just like. They just cut the guy down, and then they just keep moving. Like, it's like as if he's not even anybody special.
Right. He's not.
And they're just like a whirlwind of blades, just like killing all these guys and just cutting them all down, and they just like race across the screen and they're gone. It's like it's super satisfying because they're so good at what they do.
Yeah.
That guy didn't stand a chance. Poor Éowyn, she got messed up.
Yeah, she took that
before she killed the Witch King.
Yeah.
She took some hits.
They don't show too much in the theatrical trailer. I remember first time seeing that, the extended edition, my brain exploded.
Does the extended edition? Oh my gosh, I bumped the mic. Does the extended edition include, or does the theatrical cut include the whole stuff when after Éowyn comes back from the battle, her and Faramir meet each other?
No.
In the healing, whatever it's called, healing houses of healing?
All they do in the theatrical trailer is like the last sequence. There is a brief shot of them like standing next to each other, implying that they're like a thing now. But you don't have any interaction between the two.
Hey, remember when I almost died on the battlefield? Tee-hee-hee, remember when I almost died on the battlefield? Tee-hee-hee. That's how it starts. They have a lot in common.
Sean, you got to get on a battlefield.
Oh my gosh, it's so easy nowadays.
Love is a battlefield.
Love is a battlefield. Do you believe love can bloom on a battlefield?
Absolutely.
Do you think love can bloom even on a battlefield?
Yeah, I do. I think at any time, any place, people can fall in love with each other.
What else is new in that movie that's different in the theatrical cut? I think there's a lot of new stuff in Tower of... What's it called? Cirith Ungol. No, that's not it. Cirith Ungol is the city...
Minas Tirith?
No. You got Cirith Ungol, which is the tower that the Witch King comes out of.
Okay.
And it's this giant glowing green thing, and there's like this explosion of light into the sky, like Chernobyl or something, and then the Witch King comes out.
I do believe
and
there's
you're like,
a little...
oh my gosh.
There's a little bit more involved in the extended, but not a whole lot more.
Okay, I think the Shelob sequence is a little bit different.
Yes.
In the extended edition.
Correct. I can't remember the details, but I do remember that was...
It's probably more violent in the extended edition.
Yeah, I think so. I remember there's the Steward of Gondor. There's more of like a callback to Boromir.
Yeah, there's a whole scene. That's right. I remember. Yeah. There's a scene where...
there's like a flashback scene, isn't there?
There's a...
Yeah.
That's in the extended edition of Two Towers, where you have a scene where Boromir and Faramir are talking to each other.
Yes.
But in the extended edition of Return of the King, there is a sequence of Pippin getting the armor, or the steward's armor, and I believe it's Faramir who tells him that used to be mine when I was a boy.
Yeah.
And so they have this little moment together, which makes it like extra messed up when Faramir supposedly goes off to his death. That's like why Pippin is so distraught.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
The extended edition really just fleshes all this stuff out that you kind of got away with in the movie, but when you see the extended edition, it's like, well, I'm never going back. Yeah. It's just like everything is there now. All the pieces are complete. There's a lot of stuff like that in Return of the King, just kind of these moments of building up to the battle and establishing why it really does feel hopeless.
Yeah.
It's actually it's probably the battle is more violent too. So I feel like there's an extended thing in the movie though that's like very different in the extended edition that's not in the original.
I'm not sure.
I can remember his.
Oh, I remember now. It's when Gandalf faces off against the Witch King.
Yes.
They're running across the walls. Gandalf is fleeing with Pippin to try to get to the top.
That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen in the theatrical cut where he faces off against Gandalf.
Right.
And he literally shatters Gandalf's sword.
Right.
No, his staff.
Yeah, staff. Even worse.
That does not happen in the theatrical.
If that had happened in theatrical, I think everybody would just thrown up and died.
But I do remember.
It's too dramatic.
I do remember the scene of him with Pippin.
Yeah.
And they're on Shadowfax. And then the Nazgul drops down in Minas Tirith. Right. That's where they face off, right?
And then,
the city.
But then it only lasts for a moment, and then the Rohirrim show up. And that's what distracts the Witch King. But I think in the extended edition, it's something else that distracts him.
I don't know, though, even in the theatrical version, if that you even see that. I don't think the Nazgul comes down into the city at all. I don't think there is a Gandalf versus the Witch King at all in the theatrical.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing a clip of it, like whether it was in a preview or something, or maybe it was in the video game. And it was kind of one of those moments where it's like, shoot, when did that happen?
Yeah, it didn't happen. Not until next year. You got to buy the DVD when it matters. That actually is another thing, too, is the idea that these DVDs weren't completed until about a year after the movie originally came out.
Yeah.
So Lord of the Rings Return of the King went on to win whatever it was. Like, yeah, literally everything it was nominated for. It was like 12 or 13 Oscars.
Yeah.
And then the following, like 2 weeks later, Peter Jackson and a handful of people went and filmed a pickup shot for the extended edition that they were missing. So it was like this great thing of like, so the movie's already won all these awards, but here we are still filming.
So
like
we're not done.
Yeah, we're not done yet. We still got to film these extended editions.
We gotta go back, Kate.
We got to go back, Kate. Yeah, it's great. It's just absolutely the best thing that's ever happened to this world.
Yeah,
and I got to be a little boy when it happened.
Same.
Now it's all downhill from here.
Now, Sean, the ultimate question, David. LOTR versus Star Wars.
Yep.
It's a great question. I don't know. I think
I know more about Star Wars.
Right.
So
I think Star Wars is more fun, but Lord of the Rings makes me a better person.
Sure. I think Star Wars is like the fun crystal blue water that you play at the beach in.
Yeah.
And Lord of the Rings is like the deep. You can freaking go deep with the book, with the extended versions.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the way the timing worked out with them being released, I was all about Star Wars and then Lord of the Rings. What year did the Lord of the Rings come out?
2001, 2002, 2003. And 2002 was Attack of the Clones. 2005 was Revenge of the Sith.
Right. So I was hyped about Phantom Menace, and then I was hyped about Lord of the Rings, and then I was hyped about Star Wars. And then
you got one more Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And then you got a year off.
Yeah, and then there was a break of kind of nothing. Yeah. And then when Hobbit came out, it was all LOTR again.
Yeah.
And then when Disney bought Lucasfilms and Star Wars, then it was all Star Wars again.
Yeah.
And now it's this battle of Rings of Power versus whatever Disney Plus series Andor's coming out.
Well, really, I think right now it's currently the battle between this Rings of Power and the Game of Thrones spinoff.
Right.
House of the Dragon.
Right. But yeah, I can remember clearly in my head, like being all about Lord of the Rings and loving Star Wars, but at the moment being all about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then it kind of swinging.
It has no other master. That was you.
Word.
All right, Dave, you have any more thoughts about Return of the King?
I think my all-time favorite scene in all of it, in all of the movies, was Sam when Frodo was on the ground. He's like, I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
True.
Dude, I don't know why. It was just like,
it's a tearjerker.
Yeah, they'll change the game if you ever watch that scene with a loved one.
For sure. I can't wait till my kids are old enough to watch it.
Come on!
They do such a good job of showing people's character through the ring and what the ring does to people.
Yeah.
Right.
And seeing Sam at the end, like after Frodo's turned his back on him, put his sword to his neck.
Yeah. Kicked him off the mountain.
Yeah.
It's your Sam.
Go home, Sam. You don't mean that.
Dude, I love Gollum too.
It's like the most. It's such an insulting. It's such an insulting thing to blame him for, frame him for. Like, what is this? What is this? Crumbs. It's like, what are you trying to say, Gollum? Come on, man. That's low.
That's really funny, actually.
Actually, I think they give more backstory about the elvish bread in the extended.
Yeah, lambris, but it's impossible to say. Lambris bread. Can't do it.
Oh, dude, Gimli too. I love Gimli.
Gimli's great.
You're gonna have to toss me.
I say it all the time. I can't make the toss. I can't make the jump. I have to toss me.
Have to toss me. Don't tell the elf.
It's golden stuff.
Yeah, Gimli's a great guy.
Who's your guys' all-time favorite in Lord of the Rings?
It's a good question.
Aragorn.
Aragorn's hard to beat.
I think Fellowship of the Ring, it was Legolas for a long time because I was all about bow and arrow, but Aragorn is just such an amazing character.
And Aragorn is like the kind of person every man should want to be when they grow up.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is really interesting because Viggo Mortensen hadn't even heard of the books.
Dang.
When they like threw the casting call at him.
Shoot.
He just didn't even know anything about it. He played it perfectly. And Viggo Mortensen to this day is still an amazing actor. He was he's in that new movie 13 Lives about those kids that were stuck in that cave in Thailand.
Right.
Great movie. Viggo Mortensen, amazing in it.
You try and dive those kids the whole way, all you be bringing out is dead bodies.
Dang.
So
Taps off.
Yeah, there's
Taps off to Viggo.
Taps off. Isn't it hats off?
It's from one of our last episodes.
Toes off.
I just edited. Taps off.
Toes off to Viggo.
Taps off for Kevin Feige. Tap it off for Kevin.
All right. What were you going to say, Dave?
That's a good question, Sean.
Sorry.
Mucho shakapaga.
Yeah, Muka Shakapaga.
I think it's in Fellowship, right after Boromir tries to take the ring.
Yeah.
I think Aragorn like shuts Frodo's ring or hand with the ring.
Yeah.
And it's just like another testimony to their character.
Right. You can trust this
Where
guy.
Aragorn is just like, I'm good.
I would
Yeah.
have followed you.
After Boromir's like, come here, kid.
The very fires of come here, boy. Give me that. It is not your safe run, happy chance. It should have been mine. Give it to me. Dang.
Dude. It's been so long since I've seen.
Hope you like pain. That's what that ring does to people, man. It's a symbol.
Yeah.
Symbol of sin.
Symbol of sin and evil and darkness in our life.
Crouching
You let
at
a
your
little
door.
bit of it in, and it will consume you.
Crouching like a hidden beast.
That's right.
It's all coming together.
Sure does.
Sure does.
Thanks, Kronk.
Well, any closing final thoughts about Lord of the Rings? We could get into Rings of Power later because Rings of Power is, I think it does a lot right.
You know what? That'll give me a chance to catch up. I've seen episode 1. I really liked it. My thoughts so far in episode 1 is that it feels like Lord of the Rings.
And later episodes feel even more like Lord of the
Oh,
Rings.
heck yeah.
Especially talking about it now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like they knew what they were doing.
Dude, I'm so fired up. I'm going to go home and watch it right
Yeah,
now.
I want to watch it too.
I should just watch it now.
Dude.
Give me a second.
Turn it on.
Oh, I got a text.
Was the scene, one more question, was the scene in Return of the King where the orcs and the Uruk-hai get into a fight, did that happen? And then it literally leads to a bloodbath?
That's different in the theatrical cut.
In
That's
which
right.
one?
And Sam just walks in and there's like
Yeah.
1,000 bodies just laying around.
Oh, yeah. When they're sneaking around.
They're fighting over the mithril
Yep.
yeah,
armor stuff.
In the
Well-
in the theatrical cut, they show the start of that fight,
Yeah.
and then when Sam shows up, they don't show too much.
Are you talking about in the tower?
Yeah.
That's in the theatrical. But isn't there another thing when they're sneaking around the camps?
Oh
That's
yeah, and
the
they
base
get it.
of
They're in
Sam.
they have to like dress up like orcs.
That's
Yeah.
Sam and Frodo.
That's
yeah.
all extended edition.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the original movie at all.
Right.
Gotcha.
You see them get into the the outfit, but you don't see them sneaking through the camps.
And then like the guy almost catches him and all that stuff. And
But then they all get called to the gate, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all extended.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's... I think what they do, besides all the extra action stuff, what they do in the extended edition is I think they put more weight on, I mean, literally weight on the ring.
Mm-hmm.
They have more stuff of Frodo just like truly being completely exhausted.
Yeah.
And it's like almost... I don't know if this stuff is in the original theatrical cut or if it's in the extended edition, but they almost seem to try to imply he's going to die.
Wow.
Like he's not going to make it home.
Yeah.
Like they're going to get there.
Yeah.
They're going to throw the ring in the fire and they're going to die.
Right.
Because they have no strength left. I think it's because like they're drinking water and Frodo says something like, "Oh, there won't be enough for the return journey." And Sam's like, "I don't think there's going to be a return journey.
Yeah.
We're not coming home."
There'll be none left for the return journey. I don't think there will be a return journey, Mr. Frodo.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
No.
Another thing I just thought of that I really liked, it's the same theme of how the ring shows character in people, and it's Faramir, and how Faramir's story is his dad hates him because he's not Boromir.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's like living in his brother's shadow.
We all know what that's like.
And the whole, Two Towers and Return of the King, Faramir's just trying to get his dad's approval, but his dad will only approve of Boromir, and he wishes he was Boromir, and he hates Faramir, and Faramir has a chance to have the thing that his dad sent
Right.
his
sent
brother
Boromir to
go get. He has the chance to do something his brother couldn't.
A chance
to
for
win the
Faramir of
approval.
Gondor to show his quality.
Yeah, and he still
Resist.
does what's
Turns it
right.
down.
It's like crazy. I really like
great.
his story too. If you really look,
I think
into
that's
it.
extended too.
Yeah,
And
because
Sam says to him, "You've shown your quality, sir.
Yeah.
The very highest."
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
extended.
that's it.
Unfortunately, this is after he's been beating Gollum senseless for really no good reason.
That's all extended too, I think.
Yeah, it's awful the way they treat that guy in the movie. They just beat him up. Like, it's racism. I don't know what else to call it. It's just,
Straight persecution.
yeah, they choke him, they throw him against the wall, they kick him. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Leave the guy alone. What is he doing? He didn't even do anything.
You're talking about Faramir?
Yeah.
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 I thought you were talking about Sam.
It's funny
How
because
Sam just beats on him too.
There's so many scenes that are like burned into my memory, and then there's scenes like that I remember, but I don't remember super deeply, and that's why I know they're the extended, because I've only seen the extended ones maybe once or twice.
Something that's in the extended edition in Return of the King. No, we're thinking of Two Towers now. Is when Sam and Frodo see Oliphants for the first time.
Yeah.
The Oliphants get ambushed by Faramir and his rangers.
Right.
One of the soldiers on the Oliphant gets shot by an arrow, and he goes flying and flinging off, and he lands near Frodo and Sam. In the theatrical cut, that happens, and Faramir and his men show up and basically just like grab Sam and Frodo. It's a very short scene, but in the extended edition, there's a whole monologue that Faramir gives about that dead soldier on the ground.
Yeah.
Talking about like, I wonder if he volunteered or if he was just like, they just made him come, and what kind of hopes and dreams did he have, and
Freaking dang.
super morose. But it's a pretty good, it's a way better introduction to that character.
Sure.
That's for sure.
Than just showing up and taking them.
Yeah, exactly.
captive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you get a peek into his heart and his mindset.
the moral quandary he constantly finds himself in doing what he does, which then follows up when he's got Frodo and Sam and they have the ring, and
Right.
it's like a real convicting thing of like, what the heck do I do? Which is different than Book Faramir. Book Faramir isn't like that. Book Faramir is like, oh, I don't want that ring. What can I do to help you guys? It's like, it's very anticlimactic. There's not a lot of, like, Sam and Frodo don't go to Osgiliath with Faramir in the books. It's like just totally different.
Gotcha.
It's a better change though. You needed it for that movie.
Yeah.
To have that dramatic ending. And then to have Sam give this impassioned monologue about stories. folks in those stories. The chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going, just like this podcast, am I right?
Just keeps going, dude.
You're seeing that sky today. Talk about blue. Where's that?
I don't know.
Hey, did you see that sky today? Talk about blue.
There you go. All right, should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
Like those Christmas presents I trained myself for years to do.
I can't. I'm going to have you wrap all my presents this Christmas.
No, I forgot how to do it.
Dang. All right. What do you want to ask the people? Have you seen Lord of the Rings? Have we inspired you to see Lord of the Rings? If you've read the books, how did the films compare? Who's your favorite character? What's your favorite color?
How about why don't you say what you've always wanted to say about the Lord of the Rings, but you never had the courage to until now?
Wow. Let's get controversial. Let's get some hot takes.
I like how they use Eowyn.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say.
She's a babe. They're all babes.
She's a babe.
I watched the first episode of Rings of Power. Next episode of 99 Nerds, we can definitely dive into that.
We talked about it with Teasy when you weren't here.
Galadriel is the main character.
Yep.
She is a complete... I was gonna say she's a complete...
All right, that's.
I'm just kidding.
She's a boss.
That is a lethal weapon you have there, Dave. Be very careful using that button. Just so everybody understands at home, that is a button you press to do that. Austin did not say anything offensive.
She's somebody you root for.
Yeah,
and you're like 100% behind her. There are other female characters that are being brought to the table right now. Hashtag She-Hulk. That I'm not super behind. And there are themes in the episodes where they basically yell at you for not supporting She-Hulk as a female-led character. It has nothing to do with her being a woman. It's just, it's not a super strong character that I'm rooting for. Because I'm rooting for Galadriel.
Yeah.
So, that's my 2 cents. So yeah.
It's an important thing to realize that from the get-go, when The Lord of the Rings was being written, it was kind of like an elephant in the room of like, hey, The Lord of the Rings historically has so few female characters, and whatever ones there are very, very, very small roles. And you kind of feel like you can't have a trilogy that's literally only male leads. Right. I mean, you got to have somebody there.
When did Tolkien write it? The 20s?
20s.
The 20s?
I think. No, maybe it was the 30s.
Okay. 90 years ago. I mean,
long time ago.
Things were different back then.
It was also the genre was very high fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, it was very romanticized fantasy. Like in The Hobbit, it made sense because The Hobbit has, I mean, it's a Hobbit, 13 dwarves and a wizard. I mean, it's a kid's book. And once you expand upon it, it just didn't have, it took on a whole different thing. But what's really cool is Arwen is its own thing, but Eowyn is like an incredibly well-written character. I want to be her when I grow up.
Heck yeah.
After I become Aragorn.
Real quick, who's your most underrated character in Lord of the Rings?
It's the guy who accidentally releases his arrow and starts the battle of Helm's Deep. I mean, hey, somebody had to do it.
He can't hold on.
Can't hold on any longer. I mean, what are you supposed to do, man? Those things are like, you know what it's like to hold a bow. It's like 50 pounds of like...
Yeah, a long bow like that. That's intense. It's not a compound bow.
No. How are you supposed to hold that for very long?
That's he's kind of like the R...
Old guy.
He's like the R4 of Lord of the Rings, where without R4 having a bad motivator and A New Hope, Star Wars doesn't happen.
Oh my gosh.
Uncle Owen!
Yeah?
The R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
Excuse me, sir, but that R2 unit is in prime condition, a real bargain.
Uncle Owen!
Yeah?
What about that one?
What about that blue one?
Without that old man not being able to hold his bow.
I can't believe I can't even face my senses. Oh!
that's a lot longer than I thought.
What a day!
Yeah.
That's what I was saying when they won the battle. After all that,
I think
this is the longest wrap up ever. By the way,
I know. Always is.
I think
we're having too much fun. We could do this literally forever. Talk about Lord of the
Mary
Rings.
might be one of the most underrated characters.
Mary Brandybuck. Mary Doc Brandybuck.
He's pretty crucial.
You know, you got in Rings of Power, you got his ancestors.
Shoot.
Oh, really?
So yeah, the Brandybucks.
Dang.
Wow.
I'm excited.
So pay attention.
I'm gonna.
I was gonna say King Theoden. I like him.
Theoden.
He grows on you. You don't like him at first.
Do you like him pre-Saruman? Possession.
No, I don't.
Or post.
Yeah, that's my favorite character. Is possessed.
Possessed Theoden.
Yeah, sitting on the throne, just being.
Yeah. Grima Wormtongue running the show.
Grima Wormtongue. That's another character that's so underrated.
Grima.
No, you know who's the most underrated character? It's the farmer who, the Nazgul show up, and he gets all freaked out, and they're like, Shire Baggins, and he's like, no Baggins is here. They're off in Hobbiton that way. That's the guy.
Yeah.
Because he sets the whole story in motion.
He sure does.
Actually, no.
No.
It's the farmer who gets his head cut off by the Nazgul as they're running down the street.
No,
And,
it's what's her
the Prancing
name?
Pony?
Sam's girl.
Rosie Cotton. Rosie Cotton dancing.
She is the reason that the ring was casted into Mount Doom.
It's true.
Because if Sam didn't have the motivation,
True.
He's got to get back.
Sam couldn't have been there for Frodo.
Yeah.
It's true.
It all goes back to Sam.
Sam's the key.
If ever I was to marry someone, it would have been her. It would have been her.
Yeah, that part too got me.
And then he did it.
Oh, Sam.
I'm glad I'm with you.
Gandalf!
You're at the end of all things.
Scariest moment when Bilbo reaches for the ring in Fellowship. I still am terrified of that scene.
Yeah, big true. Well, we'll just call this like part 1 of our Lord of the Rings discussion of like probably 50. We'll do many of these in the future.
Yeah, I want to get other
You
people
can talk
in
about
here.
them forever, yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I haven't actually sat down and watched them for, I mean, it's probably been at least 6 or 7 years.
Dude, same.
So
I gotta get into it.
And I need to rewatch Lord of the Rings, the extended edition trilogy, more than I need to go get a physical every year.
Yeah.
That is your physical.
It'll tell you what's wrong with you.
It is my medication that I take once a year.
I also need to read the books. I've not read the books.
I've tried. It's hard. It's a heavy. They're not heavy. It's heady. It's.
Let me rephrase that. I need to listen to the books on audio.
It's still not easy. It's a lot of old English phrases.
But I can listen to the book twice on audio, way faster than I can read it one time.
That's true. That's true. Very true. All right.
All right. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate anything that you guys comment. If you could share it, that'd be amazing. Tell somebody you know about us. Only you can send us to the moon. We are 99 Nerds. Peace.